Busta Rhymes coming out with a
Woo-ha!
album, which is going to be pretty interesting.
I'm a Busta Rhymes. I love me some Busta.
Oh, that's my favorite rapper. He's my favorite.
And have you seen pictures of him lately?
He got that. He said, "Let me get this 8-pack going."
I mean, but if you see where he came from,
bitch.
I mean, that was not a pot belly. That was a boulder.
That was the whole hog. I think he said he got to go pay.
He got to go pay.
He said, 1, I was thirsty, and 2, they was free. I was have me about 13 Dr. Peppers. That shit kills me every time it fucking Forrest Gump.
Hey, aunties, how's it going? This is Edgar here. I am the author of a book called Decolonizing Wealth, and I'm looking forward to being in conversation with you all today. What's brewing today?
Introducing Auntie Absinthe Minded.
Ask your aunties, bounce that ass and stuff.
And Election Day 2020 is here. So get your cups ready for Minority Report. Well, hello. Hey, I know, right? Hey, ladies.
One of these days, we're going to have to do that, do our little clap, but turn it around.
Oh, do a whole choreograph
with the booty clap.
You know what?
Lord. Oh, too funny.
I can't even do that. I have no butt whatsoever.
I was about to say you can't say clapping, girl.
No, they're not.
I ain't gonna lie. I be trying.
Jarrell, all he gotta do is get up from the damn chair.
That is not. No, right? I break them. That's what my ass can do. Now making it clap is a whole different thing. I need some assistance to make that happen.
That's funny.
Because we all know that's the only noise that'll be coming from your bedroom.
You're right. You're right.
That's funny.
That's some old. That's some old.
That's not right. You gotta go to the old episodes on that one.
You have to be rocking with us for a while to know what that means.
That's funny. Well, community, before we even get into it, subscribe, download, and all that good stuff. We have another special guest this week.
Yeah.
And this week, how I actually ran into this human being was, and I'm not even sure if he remembers, was last summer at World Pride in New York City. We were at, I don't even know, some party that Issa got us into, or he knew the people there. Exactly. Issa knows everybody. But Daniel actually was like, oh, you see those guys over there with the decolonizing shirt or decolonizer shirts on? I was like, oh yeah, that's cute. Da da da. He's like, yeah, I was just talking to one of them, and like he has a new book out. Da da da. You should tell him about the podcast. I was like, oh, okay, for sure. So I think it was Edgar's partner that I talked to for a little bit, and he's like, yeah, you got to talk to my partner. He's the one that wrote the book. Blah blah blah. I was like, all right. So we chatted it up, and I was like, oh God, here I am in like a crop top and.
That was a cute crop top, though.
Thank you.
It was cute, super
but
cute.
I was like, oh, hopefully this person takes me serious because we actually have a good podcast. But here I am, like partying up for World Pride in the crop top. But I was like, we definitely have to have him on someday because his platform is incredible. So before we even get to his real name, what is your auntie name that you have for us this week?
Oh, you know what? I think you muted yourself.
Yep. And let's see here.
Oh, I did. I'm sorry.
There we go.
my auntie name is Absinthe Minded.
Ooh, okay. So you came with the whole stage name.
Yes. Okay.
Absinthe, that's strong and mighty.
That
is strong. In 2020.
That's liqueur. That's what they call that, liqueur.
Right.
I ended up at a lake one night. I tried absinthe for the first time, and we did a shot of it to pregame. We went to the bar. Next thing I know, I'm at a lake, like 3 miles away from my house. I don't even know how I got to the lake, but
I'm glad you didn't get in the lake.
Look, no, like I literally just remember, like I blacked out. I came to. I'm like, oh, I'm by Lake Calhoun, and the next thing I blacked out, and I woke up. It was Sunday, and I was at home.
Wow.
Lord. Okay,
And that was the first
Wow.
and the last time I asked him. I was done.
absent-minded for real.
It'll get you.
Mhm.
Oh man. But Edgar is the author of, here I got the book in front of me, Decolonizing Wealth. He's a philanthropist, if I could say the word, author, everything, like literally. And I read this book, and there's a lot of it that, like, I have page numbers, and I'm not one to really write in books, but I actually found myself writing and starring and everything in this book. So it's a good book, community, if you haven't gotten it. But even before we get to the journey of writing this book, how did you get into philanthropy? Like, you don't hear a lot of people say, that's what I want to do with my career out the gate. Like, and even though you kind of mentioned it in the book, how did you fall into this career, honestly?
You know, I definitely stumbled into it. It's, you know, philanthropy, which is like this, it's a crazy world. And I work a lot with wealthy people, and, you know, large institutions that hold wealth. And I didn't come from that kind of community. I came from poverty, single mom. And so I definitely was sort of a unlikely suspect to find myself working in this space. But I had been working in the nonprofit sector. I was doing work around HIV and AIDS and women's health issues, kind of health justice kind of work. And I went to school and got my master's in public health. And it just so happened that a health focused foundation in North Carolina, where I'm from originally, was looking to diversify their staff. They wanted to bring in a person of color, but also like a younger person. Because at the time I was 28 years old. That was kind of also unheard of at that time for someone to be like in their 20s, being a program officer at a pretty large foundation. And so they recruited me right out of grad school. And honestly, when I was finishing up my degree at Chapel Hill and I had grown up in Raleigh, my mind was like, oh, I'm heading to Atlanta, I'm heading to DC, I was ready for big city time, right? So I got, this foundation was in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, and I was like, oh, that's not in my plans. That's not really, you know, where I'm trying to be. But I had a professor who said, you need to really go and talk to these people like you don't understand like what kind of opportunity this is. This could be huge. And when I went to Winston-Salem to interview for the job, the office was on a plantation. Okay.
I believe
Like
it.
literally the estate of R.J. Reynolds, the old tobacco tycoon in Winston-Salem. And I'm driving onto this estate, and it's you know, beautiful. The main house is now an art museum, and they have all these cute little shops. They made it cute, like high-end shoe stores and restaurants and stuff. So I'm like, what is this place? Like, what's going on here? And I interviewed for the job, and all I took from that was like, so you're telling me that if I take this job, I will have like $25 million a year, that my job is to like find organizations to give that money to. And they're basically, yeah. And I'm like, that's crazy. That sounds kind of cool. So yeah, so I ended up taking the job, and that, you know, it's been 16 years, telling my age here, that I've been working in this crazy space. And you know, and through the years I've got more and more politicized, and kind of seeing what's going on behind the curtain and trying to, you know, bust it up and just, you know, disrupt in that space, because there's a lot of nonsense going on that needs to be called out as well. So, but yeah, that's how I got into the
And you
space.
grew up in North Carolina, right?
I did.
If
Yeah. You hear
y'all
my
hear the
southern
little
accent?
draw,
I hear it.
It'll come out. It'll come out if you haven't heard it yet.
it's funny. And like in this entire book that you had, there was a line that like kind of hit me, because it's similar to the foundation of this podcast, where you said being Native American means living in the complex space where worlds meet. And I was like, God, that is like perfectly stated, because just feeling as a Black gay man growing up with two pastors as parents, and then kind of being in this white world of corporate America, trying to tiptoe and really overlap these different worlds, like that line out of probably anything in the book hit me so hard because I was like, I haven't been able to succinctly say it as clear as that line. And so like being in philanthropy and obviously just like your upbringing from poverty to now, has it been easy to have these lines overlap? Like, is it just something that you just grew and you just like, okay, it just happened? Or is that something you've had to consciously work towards?
Oh no, it's hella hard. It's hella hard. I mean, when I first got into philanthropy, you know, I was the first person in my family to even graduate from high school. Like when I tell you I came from poverty, I don't mean middle class, I mean poverty.
Yeah.
And when I got into the world, this world, you know, I had been, you know, traveling for work and had a good little job. I was doing all right, you know. I had my little Honda Civic. I was feeling good about my progress in life, and and I remember just early on there being things said to me at my job about actually even about the kind of car that I drove. Like, when are you gonna get a new car? You know, and all of a sudden I was basically told, you are now a part of us, and you represent our family, our legacy, our wealth, and we need you to kind of assimilate and to show up in the community. In fact, I had to sign a character contract, which is the most bizarre thing. I was not allowed to curse in public. I was not allowed to be drunk in public. And
that's half the fun of being gay,
right? I mean, if they only knew what was going down. And in fact, I wasn't. It wasn't explicitly written down, but I was not, allowed. It wasn't accepted for me to be out. And I remember even during the interview process, right before I was offered the job, my boss shut the door and said, you know, now there's nothing about, you don't have any skeletons in the closet or anything I need to know about you that's going to come out later, right? And I knew exactly what he was referring to, and I was like, no, sir, I'm just a good old Southern Christian boy, you know. And but yeah, there was this crazy like forced assimilation. And so I did it because I had internalized whiteness so much myself at that point in time, after being in grad school and being told, oh, you got to dress like this to get the job, and comb your hair this way and wear the white shirt with the wingtip shoes. And so I took that on because part of it was just out of survival and thinking that's the way I had to show up, right? And trying to change the way I talk. I mean, every person of color knows about code switching, right? I mean, I was a master at code switching, still am in a lot of ways.
Right, got that PhD, boo.
Right. So that was really what I did, and it served me well. Like I did all right in my career because I was giving them what they wanted, and I also have light skin privilege, and to be Native American sometimes is a kind of a special box for folks. Like they're like, oh, Native American, that's a different diversity metric that we don't have around here. And so I know that me, being white presenting in some ways has definitely like helped in that, with people who, because of anti-Black racism, frankly, right? So, I did all of that. And at the same time, as I'm assimilating that way, my community is like, who are you? Why are you talking like you rich? Why are you acting that way? And then at a certain point in time, you start having an identity crisis. You're like, is this how I talk? Like, is this how I talk now? Or like,
and Edgar, when you say your community, who are you referring to?
So my people, I'm from the southeastern part of North Carolina, from a tribe called the Lumbee tribe. We are a tribe with about 55,000 folks. We're the largest tribe on the East Coast. So that's my people.
So you mean your people?
My people.
Not the community at large, but like your people.
Right.
Yeah.
My folks, yeah. And of course, a lot of my community has really celebrated me in so many ways, and I've been super proud of my accomplishments. But when you leave home in some ways to aspire to, grow in your career and evolve in your leadership, there is this thing sometimes where you feel like you're leaving home behind, and this disconnection that starts be created there, that I've always had to hold, because I'm sort of a bridge person. I'm a bridge between rich people and poor people, a bridge between people who have information and people who don't have information. So it's a tough place to be, because you're constantly like translating back and forth and trying to be all things to all people sometimes. So it's tough.
How did you make that decision that you're going to take what you know and put pen to paper? Like, what was the impetus for you to say, you know what, I need to, like, share my wealth of information and experience?
Yeah, so at a certain point in time working in philanthropy, I just started feeling disillusioned, because of all places to work, like philanthropy, you would think like literally means love of people, the word philanthropy,
Yeah.
and it's a charitable sector, and we get so much like good PR, right? Of like we are the good people, we're helping the world. And I just started seeing a lot of things happening within the sector that I felt like needed to be addressed and called out. And as a younger person, where I was, more bold and speaking up, but definitely like in a respectful way. I wasn't running into boardrooms like with my fist in the air or anything, right? But I was like, so we say that we're about poor people and helping poor people. Why are all of our grant recipients white men? Like, somebody explain to me, like, and why is it every time I bring a Black organization in here to fund, it's like I'm standing before a firing squad with questions, right? And you start hearing the racist coded language, right? Oh, giving money to that group is a risk, or they just don't quite fit in with our strategy, and all of these kinds of things, right? So I started just becoming like pissed, because I'm like, y'all hired me because of the community that I come from and what I represent and my network relationships, but y'all actually expect me to leave that all at the door and come in and like assimilate to this status quo and just keep funding these large white institutions and allow y'all to feel good that you have diversified your staff.
You did work on the plantation.
Yeah,
right. It became very, very clear that I was a house slave, at some point in time, that I had proximity to power, but it wasn't my power. And I had to like decide what I was going to do with that proximity. Was I going to get puffed up with that and forge my own agenda with that, or was I really going to try to shift something that would result in some impacts on the community? And so I began to just, really push back on some of the status quo, and like asking questions that at that time, I guess, were a little bit radical about like, why aren't we funding Black organizations? Now it seems like everyone's talking about that. Or why are we putting folks through such ridiculous hoops to get this money? Like, why? Like, when we actually say that you must have a budget of at least, $800,000 or $1 million to get a grant from us, we're automatically excluding, some of the best organizations who are on the front lines supporting our communities, right? And so, why is that the case? Like, why does that matter? And can we change that? And at the point in time, I'll never forget, I was at a board meeting, and I was really like advocating, again, in a very professional way, right? But advocating for this particular organization to get funded. And I was just getting no. And and
not Destiny's Child, no.
Right, not the good kind of no, right? And so I kept kind of pushing, and my president of the foundation said something to me that just completely humiliated me in front of everyone, right? I mean, it just deflated me. And she said, Edgar, you're getting too big for your britches. And, hey, y'all know what that means, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was told to know my place, mind my business, stay in my lane. And from that sort of lit a fire.
Right. Keep dribbling.
Right. So from that point on, I just began kind of like writing out of frustration. And I just kept saying to myself, one day I'm going to just write a tell-all that is like, really bringing to light what's going on inside of these institutions. Because I think the community thinks, oh, they must be like really trying to solve poverty and grappling with like all of these like social issues. And that's not what was really going on. We were like whining and dining and like getting the window treatments, and you know, nobody was really trying to radically shift anything, because ultimately what a lot of these institutions are about is hoarding wealth and not actually getting wealth back into the community where it belongs.
I think you said it well in the book. You said the master's tools will never dismantle the master's home or something like that. I was like, ooh.
Oh yeah, that's
right.
Audre Lorde. That's Audre Lorde. The tools of the you can't use the tools of the master's house. Let's see, we're both messing it up. What is it?
Hold on, I wrote it down somewhere. Hold on. Hold on. The
Sorry,
master's
Audre,
tools will never dismantle the master's house. Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
And honestly, you almost have to dismantle it either yourself with your own tools and almost unfortunately a different game, or dismantle it from the inside out, making sure that you constantly have those seats and taking those seats over, honestly, sadly so, because they're not going to do it. Yeah.
No, they're not going to cede power. You got to take it.
Yeah.
You got to take it.
Ooh, Lord. So how do you even start a book though? Like, what does that first step look like? Like, okay, I want to write this tell-all, or I want to provide this wealth of information. What is step one? Like, what is page one? Like, hi, my name is Edgar.
For me, page one was Beyonce, because you see that quote is right there in the beginning.
I did see that in the beginning. I was like, yes,
and that's how you start a book.
As you should.
You have me hooked from page one. Oh, okay.
Right.
And Beyonce said it must be true.
If we are going to hell, let it be glorious.
Right.
Said Beyonce, the queen bee.
Okay. I was like, well, I can't say it any better, so I'm just gonna put what she said. You know, I think that at a certain point in time, like after being in so many spaces, like conferences and different groups within the nonprofit sector, just hearing the same complaints all the time, like complaints about really what are dynamics of white supremacy and how they show up at organizations, right? Like, we're trying to get money for people of color, and the board is like fighting us. They don't have any people of color on the board, and like the fear tactics and the manipulation. Because trust and believe, when there's like a concentration of wealth and power, there's some craziness going on, right? And philanthropy, we are a sector that has $1 trillion in philanthropic capital at our disposal. Like, it's a lot of money, right? With hardly any accountability from the government in terms of like how we operate, who makes decisions, and all of that, right? So I just kind of got like tired, because I feel like if I'm gonna be about something and do something, I want to be real with it, and I really want to make a difference. You know, as hard as we work, as passionate as I am about, you know, giving my time to this work, I really want to see something change. And I'm like, we're gonna sit around and just talk about diversity, equity, inclusion for forever, and I just keep seeing more reports coming out about it, and like nobody changing anything, and right, and having conference after conference of white folks on the stage talking about equity and inclusion, and I'm like, what's this? What's going on? And then knowing that myself as a person of color had not been supported as someone, and in fact, when my started to rise in this sector, I started experiencing oppression, right? And I had a shared story of everybody and people of color in philanthropy. I was talking to folks, and it was a shared experience of feeling super tokenized and kind of powerless, and in fact, like punished if you like spoke up to change anything. They'll push you out, and you're made to feel that you are lucky to work here. If you leave, there's a million people who would take your place tomorrow. And so I started kind of getting angry, and, you know, and just kind of documenting some stuff. And I was at this retreat with a lot of people of color who work in this field, and kind of hearing the same conversation again, right? Like, just complaints. And I was like, well, what are we going to do about it, y'all? Like, are we going to be radical? Because, you know, if we do too much, they're going to push us out. Are you willing to like risk your job to like try to change something or say something? I stood up in that space. I said, I'm gonna write a book that brings all this to, I'm just gonna like do it. And I may never work again in this sector, but something's gotta change.
Yeah.
And everybody was like, write the book, write the
Write the
book, write the
book,
book.
write the book.
So then after the retreat, I was like, I ain't writing no book. I was feeling it in the moment, but I was
Right.
like, I ain't got time to write a book. I got 12 jobs and all kinds of
Right.
things to do. And I'm a talker. I'm not a writer. I can write all okay, I think, but it takes me time. I'm not fast with it. And so I kept getting calls from people from that class. They're like, when are you writing this book? When you're writing this book? And so actually a guy who is the president of a foundation, we had breakfast and he was like, you got to write this book. Like, I'm telling you, there's just something there. And I was like, I don't know how to write. I don't even know what writing a book means, right?
Yeah.
Like, do I got to find a publisher? Like, I know nothing about the sector, the field of writing books. And I know I would need some resources. And if I do this, I'm not going to write a book that reflects my community, that is like one of those little janky flea market looking books. Like, I want this to be nice. It's got to be polished.
Yes.
Like, I'm going to be stepping out, and it's got to be like a good reflection of all the people that this story represents, right? Mm-hmm. And he said, I'll give you $25,000 to get you started if you write this book. And I was like, okay, then.
Right.
This might happen. Okay.
He said, get this pen out.
Okay.
Did you ask, will the check clear?
That's like,
as long as it clears, look.
Right. So, I was like, okay, I'm going to take this seriously, because obviously, like, the universe is just bringing this to me time and time again. And now I actually have, I got this gift to explore. I can get a writing coach or whatever I need to figure it out. And that's what I did. I actually did get someone to support me, which was a blessing. Everybody don't have that. And someone to just help me get focused. And because I am a storyteller and a talker versus a writer, my process was I actually like recorded myself talking. And I would like think about the different stories and things that I wanted to chronicle, and I would just like talk to the computer unless there was somebody who was willing to listen. And sometimes I would just have a memory or something would hit me, and I would just like start recording. And I transcribed that, and we had to put all together and just massage it down until like something started to make sense. Mm-hmm. But what's so beautiful about writing a book is that at least for me in my process, it's like, I don't know what it's like to give birth. Obviously, probably never will.
Keep trying though.
Right. I'm
I mean, if the burrito is big enough, you might get
Oh dear God.
I mean, might be looking like Busta Rhymes.
Right, huh?
Right.
Yeah.
But I just, it felt like, I think writing a book is hard work. It is a process. I think if you're meant to write a book, it's going to happen. Like, it ate away at me inside until I had to get something out. Like, it was like, I just felt like it had to come out. And, never write a book to make money, because you don't make a lot of money writing books. But if you have something that's eaten away, where you're like, I gotta say this and get it out of me, or I'm gonna die, then I think that you're really called to write it. And that's what I felt. And honestly, it's like the road just rose to meet me. Like I wrote the entire book. And then like 2 weeks later, I had a book deal, and just like the people came into my life.
That's providence. Yeah,
right.
It was just meant to happen. Yeah,
meant to happen. Yeah.
Wow.
So, yeah.
So decolonizing wealth. So that, even just the word decolonization is maybe a polarizing word, maybe to some people, not to us. We all get it.
Yeah.
But maybe to the white world, why should they pick it up? Like, how? Because when I was reading, what I enjoyed about it thoroughly is literally the way you're talking, like you say, is how this book feels. And honestly, you're not mincing words. and it might rub some people the wrong way, some of these chapters, because literally he's talking about the decolonization of wealth and how colonizing the US and obviously a lot of the world is really aimed at white folks. And he kind of compares it to being maybe a house slave or a slave that's in the field and things like that in modern times. So have you had people like come up to you like, I want to read this book, but the title is rubbing me the wrong way? Or have people been more receptive than you thought they would have been?
I'm really surprised at how receptive people have been, especially white people. I am thankful for Black Panther, because that movie came out right before my book, and it kind of made shut up, colonizer. What did she say in the movie?
Yeah.
Or not today, colonizer, or whatever it was. And I was like, yes, thank you, Black Panther, because that just became like brought the word like the colonizer to mainstream in some ways. But I feel like I will say that Decolonizing Wealth wasn't my working title. I was kind of surprised when we landed there. It was something that was probably softer. But we did sort of this market test with all these names, and I forget how Decolonizing Wealth actually got on the list. And when we did the market testing around the name, it was like 95% of the people loved that name, and like 1% of the people loved the name that I had chosen. In my mind, I was like, "This is gonna be my title," and like,
my story, my title, like,
right.
I feel you, like.
And so I was like, okay, I'll go with what they say. But even, I think something that could be as polarizing or provocative as the word decolonizing, it is something that kind of catches the eye or catches people's attention to be like, what are you talking about here? Are you coming for my money? But when you bring people in and you use the power of storytelling about, like, no one can argue with your story. Like,
that's true.
What I've been through is what I've been through, so it's not up for debate. Like it's what happened, and it's what I tell in the book. But it's also, I think, my approach of bringing people in and speaking the truth in love. Like I say all the time to these folks, listen, I work in this sector. I love this sector. After all I've been through, I'm still here. I'm still working. I'm still doing the work of philanthropy. And I love you so much, and I love this work so much that I got to tell you the truth. It's kind of like how, your parents love you, but they still, took that switch to your ass if you grew up in my generation.
Absolutely.
The one you have to go and pick.
Right, exactly. So it's like, I'm doing this because I love you, and maybe you don't feel like it at the moment, but at the end of the day, you're like, there's a lesson in here for me
somewhere.
And somewhere in there. So it's also what I really have tried to do in my work is help white people understand that the struggle for liberation is just as much their struggle as it is ours, and that whiteness and white supremacy is not white people. White supremacy is an ideology that somebody created. It's propaganda, and it's propaganda that is harming us, and it's also harming them. And what's been really beautiful in the last 2 years that I've been doing this work, the stories from white people who are like, your book like brought my family back together. Like, I hadn't talked to my sister in 6 years, but when I read this, I knew I needed to like make things right, because it's about understanding that there's a force at play that is causing us all to be oppressed in different ways, right? Like, the struggle of white people is not the same as my struggle, but like really assimilating to these ideas of being individuals, and putting up fences and separation paradigms and competition and all of these things that are a result of our history of colonization actually tears families apart. And it dehumanizes all of us to some extent, that and just really waters down our ability to connect to people and be in relationship. So it's bringing white folks into understanding that they are what I call in the book orphans, and disconnected from culture and place, and they need to like get back to the instructions that have been handed down to them from their ancestors, and remember where they came from and reconnect to that, and then we can all get along together much better.
It's interesting because like the number one rule or the best strategy of, the rule of war is, it's separating people. It's breaking them up into different factions and finding things that cause wedges. And, like when people have the ability to be united, whether it's within a family unit, whether it's within a community, et cetera, they have power. And so all of these kind of things are baked into, our systems, to divide and conquer people by so many different ways that they don't have the ability to take away the wealth from people that have it.
Exactly. That's it.
And then even like around that orphan thing, you said there was like 7 steps to healing and kind of getting around this decolonizing of wealth. Obviously, specifically wealth, because between finance and philanthropy, but a lot of these 7 steps honestly can be utilized in relationships, whatever it may be. But the one that kind of like made me really kind of stop for a second was like that grieving part, because I think there was a story you had in there where you're saying a white lady actually went through her history and learned that, okay, yes, my great grandfather, whomever, owned slaves, the land that I'm inheriting, all this money that I've been inheriting or that keeps going passed down from generation to generation, to actually grieve that was kind of powerful. I was like, I haven't thought about it, and almost honestly, sadly so, in that regard for them, it's just like, I need to grieve what my history has done, and that I need to grieve the privilege that I got from it, so I can honestly move on and help whatever the situation may be. And I'm thankful that you had that story in there, because a lot of times it takes a moment, like just being, especially like being a Black person, sometimes you just get so angry and you want them to hear you, but you know what, on the flip side, I need to actually hear your story of grief and grieving as well.
No, it's straight up. It's like the one thing that we all have in common is that we've all suffered in some way, right? We've all experienced pain, and um, grieving is like this weird thing that starting the healing process, and with that first step is just so important, because if we don't really understand what has gone wrong and like feel bad about it, we're not going to change, right?
Yeah.
And like, for example, I'm really stoked about all the conversations about reparations right now, because I talk about that a lot in the book. And I, huge advocate for reparations. But what I'm afraid of is that, like, if we even get to the point where reparations passes in the US, we haven't done all that other work. Like, it's going to be like, well, we wrote a check, we're done, like, we can all move forward. And what has happened is that we haven't
Racism's
actually
over.
grieved. Right. And the reason we don't have reparations now is because they're not sorry. They're not sorry about it.
Say
right.
that again.
And we haven't had an official apology from the federal government for slavery in this country. We've never had an official apology for every single broken treaty to Native American communities. And so those are things that, like, actually grieving and feeling bad for what has happened is just a necessary process that needs to happen. Just like if you had a fight with, your man or somebody, right? Like, you can't just like show up and say, oh, here's the flowers. No, they're going to be like, you better feel bad about what you did and like truly apologize and be clear about the mistake that you made, so you don't do it again, right? Like, that's kind of been the relationships that I've been in. Right. So we have to do that at large. And for white people, a lot of white folks are like disconnected emotionally because they don't want to feel the weight of like what their ancestors are responsible for.
That part.
They don't know what to do. Like, they're like, I don't know what to do, and so they just do nothing. And so if they can find a way within their communities to like grieve and say, you know what, and the white woman who wrote me a letter of apology that I talk about in the book, like, she is so free now, y'all. Like, she's out organizing white people finding out
Yeah.
all kind of ways to get land back to Black farmers in the South. Like she's just
Mm.
so clear about her purpose.
Yeah.
And in doing all of this, she's like becoming more and more free. And she's gone back to understand, like study her ancestors and the languages that they had. When you go back far enough, you find that in some of the, like these white folks from way back generations were connected to the land in many ways that indigenous people are, had languages and had cultures, but everyone, you know, came to the US and like assimilated to this idea of being American, and like had to like not be allowed to speak their languages or practice their cultures. And so a lot of white people are just lost, and this is why they steal from other cultures and, you know, do all the things, because they don't have a culture. But if they can like remember where they came from, and I believe they want to, right? This is why DNA testing is so popular right now. They want to remember who they are, because being just American is not enough. We're all other things, and that's okay. Like it's okay to be like American to other things. And so that's where I think for white people, they have to like grieve that they lost their culture. They have to grieve that they were responsible for the original sins of this country, and like deal with it so they can
That's
be
probably
free
the
and
reason
be
why they
healed.
also lost their the gift to season their food too. You know, when you
Right.
forget where you you forget where your spices come from, all the rest of that. Like real talk. Like
It's
when you
so
say that, I was
real.
like, you know what? That actually makes a lot of sense. Like it makes sense why shit be so bland. Like I was just like, damn, it was like light bulb, you know.
Exactly. That
But
is
like when you were
exactly
talking
why.
about like, you know, like there hasn't been a part of grievance, you know, like they have yet to still do. Like I don't know about for you all, but for me specifically, like in the last like decade, I've been seeing like this growth of grievance within like the Black and Native American community, where when either group is speaking up, we're speaking up as a collective. Like I hear so much now of, you know, people in the Black community also referencing that the Native American community went through too, and not just and also and paying homage to when they are in places that they're actually knowing the land in which they're standing on in these moments when they are addressing these issues too. Not just saying, oh, it's both of us. We're like, no, it's us, and on this land that we stand in, this is where we are. And also seeing on the Native American side too, seeing so many Native American people come up for Black Lives Matters and being like, we're with you, you know, like
Exactly.
I've seen this shift in the last 2 years of both communities that have really suffered from the root of this country starting to be like, no more. And it's conversations like this, especially when it comes to the topic of wealth, which I feel like are topics that for so long have not been talked in both communities, that are so much more important now, because that's a way to, again, to help move the needle in a direction in which we are not in spaces like we were talking about, you know. And I love the fact that your book can inspire those conversations, and is also on our podcast, you know, just inspiring other people to start having those conversations too, because we don't have them. I grew up not understanding, like, oh, you know, paycheck to paycheck, you know, like, oh, you got a job so you can buy shit. Not you got a job so you can save and you can have more and invest in your future to pass on. Generational wealth was never a thing, you know. We suffered now, and we taught those who came after us to suffer then too. So I love all of it. I love this so much. It's just
Share a little bit, if you will, about the intersectionality between, you know, your indigenous background and how that serves as a lens, you know, into the work that you're doing now through this book, and, you know, how you're speaking to people, because it's right there in your title. So talk to us a little bit about, you know, about that upbringing and how that, you know, is shaping your point of view.
Yeah, you know, honestly, like my upbringing was when I was 5, my mom, we moved to the city of Raleigh. And so I did not grow up in a tribal community. I'm what they call an urban native. And I was the only Native American from
That sounds
K-12,
foul.
right?
That sounds really foul.
You know, and the truth is, like, about 80% of Native Americans live in cities. Like everyone thinks, oh, like, you know, New Mexico and tribes and stuff, but we definitely have, you know, tribal communities, but most natives live in cities. but I didn't actually know any other natives outside of like my cousins, and until I got to college and I joined a student group there, and I was so like hungry to like connect and like understand things about who I was and where I came from. Although I was just from an hour and a half down the street, but when you're a kid, that's like another state
A
away. You
whole
know what I
different
mean?
world.
Nowadays,
Yeah.
it's like it was right there. But it, you know, so I kind of starting around when I went to college, I started like, you know, like really trying to learn my history because clearly it was not taught to me in school. And in fact, right now, some research that came out 2 years ago shows that in 27 states in this country, 27 do not mention Native Americans in K-12 history curriculum, right? It's like we don't even
Shit.
exist. I'm like,
Not
what?
surprised.
Right,
Everybody's still praying
right,
to a white Jesus, so
right.
You
And
right
did
on
y'all
that.
see Megan Thee Stallion's tweet the other day, which I can't get over, which said, you know, it's crazy in this, you know, country, this education system where you're forced to learn the three names of Christopher Columbus ships, but not the name of the land that you're on.
That part.
You know, like so that's
Mm.
problematic. But so for me, I felt, you know, I've always been in like this other box because if you're Native American, you just automatically are kind of born into this other box, right? Like we are the only race that has to prove that we are who we say we are. Like you can't just be like, I'm Native American. We have to like show documentation. Like what other
Blood
race has to do
samples
that?
and all.
Isn't that
Yeah.
crazy?
Yeah.
And
That's
so
wild.
like first of all, like so that also that just creates a trauma in itself. It's like why don't the government believe that I am who I am? So you got to do all that. And then
You know why
you know,
you know why.
oh I right, right. And then, you know, when I was growing up in school, the only boxes were black, white, and other. So I literally
Yeah.
was in like the other box and being the only one. So I feel like I've been always, and then, you know, my name is a whole nother story. I have a very Latinx name, which came from my stepfather, who's Filipino. So even within my native community, folks are like, you're Mexican. You're not, you know, where you with that name, why are you trying to be Indian? I'm like, in the same thing too. Like anyway.
That
But
part.
so I've always been trying to learn and to catch up and to understand. And as I've learned more about my culture, I didn't know if some of the things we did growing up was because I was Southern, because it was like just how my mama did it, or if everybody did it, right? So
Right.
I've
Hmm.
come to see like, oh, that's actually kind of like a native way of thinking or being, that it was just the way we did it, you know.
Mhm.
And so when I started writing this book, part of me felt a little bit like a fraud because like there is this sense that you have to be like, you know, like what defines you being indigenous, right? Like, you know, are you Indian enough? And there are definitely like the indigenous police out there who will come for you to be like, oh no, you're not Indian enough, or you're light skinned,
Mm-hmm.
so you shouldn't say, you know, these kinds of like
Hmm.
internalized oppression things that happen
We got it
everywhere.
too.
I was about to say
Right,
that's all the black
exactly.
Hmm.
community.
Colorism.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So when I started writing the book, I didn't know that what the second part of the book would be. I had like I knew the complaint that I had, I knew the problem, but I was like, I don't know what the solution is. Burn it down. Like I don't know. And I had the writing coach that I mentioned. We're like going back and forth, and she was really pushing me toward like, you know, like you need to like explore like the Native American thing, you know. And I'm like, that's too on the, like obviously that's too on the nose. A Native American writes a book about Native American,
Yeah.
whatever. And so I kind of resisted that. I was like, no, I don't want to be put in that box. I want to come out with like a radical idea that's going to transform this sector, that is not like, oh, I'm the Native American guru that you should have been listening to, right? But truth is, when I started like interviewing people and talking to like all kind of folks to get an idea of like where we go from here, the most like amazing ideas came from my community. I went back home to North Carolina. I was talking to elders and just like, what does philanthropy mean to us? They're like, baby, what's that word? I don't know what that means. And you know, like, what does it mean to like take care of each other? And you know, how did like your grandmother, you know, think about like the world and like money and like resources? And I was like, damn it, like this is actually the answer. This is the way, like the indigenous worldview of all my relations and our interdependence and our traditions from different tribes around like potlatch and giving and caring for each other. I was like, this is the way. Like it's simple, it's like so on the nose, but it's actually the way. And I can't say that like I grew up and I feel that spiritual energy and like I'm like, because I am super colonized and like, but my process of decolonizing is working every day to unlearn all of that and to like understand the way that I should see the world. And it's basically learning to be anti-racist and learning to be anti-homophobic and anti the patriarchy and all these things that we've just consumed to otherize people and to hate people and to feel like we're in competition. And so that's the work that I started doing through writing my book. And I felt like I was healing myself and like just settling into like finally at the ripe old age of 40 really coming to terms with who I really am and understanding that my culture and my identity is not just good for me, but it's good for everybody. This is the way that we all need to see the world.
That is facts. And like now we're celebrating, we're coming into when this episode drops, Native American History Month. Or is it History Month or just celebration of Heritage Month? Mm-hmm. So like going into that, are there certain things as you've gotten older that you're like, oh, I'm cooking this dish for sure, or I'm attending this thing? Because like I know for me, for Black History Month, I know I'm about to hit up some soul food places. I'm gonna support Black-owned businesses. Like that's a must. Are there certain things that you do that you're like, I have to do this just because it feeds my soul?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's funny because just like I guess about 2 weeks ago was Indigenous Peoples Day, which is, we're reclaiming, anti-Columbus Day, Indigenous Peoples Day. And at the day after, I was talking to a Native sister, like, how you doing? Just checking in. And we're like, dang, we're so tired because on Indigenous Peoples Day, we spent the whole day. I did a 4.5-hour takeover of Lush Cosmetics Instagram where I was on all day, like educating, talking to folks, bringing on like activists, talking about land back, talking about solidarity with the Move for Black Lives, like all of this. And I was like, we have to like take our holidays to do advocacy. So I was like, we need like a day where it's like the real Indigenous Peoples Day should be a day where we don't have to do nothing.
Do shit.
Everybody else should be talking about it.
So true.
I have it, for the month, I definitely will use, because it is a media hook where, like Black History Month, we all get a month. So I was like, so I'm going to definitely be doing a lot of advocacy work to bring to light issues impacting our communities. I think for me, I have definitely like tapped into some Native spirituality and like healing practices that are just kind of sustaining me through this moment. Right. Mm-hmm. So I have to show y'all, because these Native folks sent me this sage. Isn't this the biggest sage you've ever seen? It's bigger than my head.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ooh.
So come.
Is that enough for the United States?
Girl, oh boy needs a whole bushel.
Especially election night, I might burn this thing up and
absolutely,
I don't know, feel some peace and joy.
I know that's right. Jesus.
Yeah. But yeah, that's, I'm going to take opportunity for in the month to just do a lot of, I'm doing an event with Nike. So anywhere I can get to just like amplify like what's going on in our communities and shift the narrative, right? Like the poor Indian narrative that we're like down and living in a teepee, just all this nonsense, right? Like, no, we are innovators, we're philanthropists, we are running things in tech, we got
it's like that Dave
fashion
Chappelle,
designers.
What's that Dave Chappelle skit where he's like, and I am rolling out the corn, and they call it Doritos.
I talk like about Dave Chappelle all the time.
It's like his whole purpose is like, you think they're in teepees. He's like, no, they was watching TV too. They was eating Doritos.
Right. Exactly. Right.
I gotta make sure you like. I was gonna say, but make sure you let us know what we can share and be a part of, and share with the community too, because that's a whole. My grandmother was part Native American, but my mom was never close with my grandma, so I never got to understand or any of that. And it wasn't until high school that I got to meet other Native American people who were actually part from the same tribe that my grandmother was. And so I got to do some family digging back in high school. But then my grandma passed away, and that's kind of been it. But it'd be nice just to share with the community, because a lot of people don't know that there's also a lot of like interracial, like like between a lot of the Black and the Native American families
Yep.
too, like
So much,
yeah,
yeah.
so much. So
So
it'd be
much,
nice
yeah.
just to be sharing, yeah, and just be able to follow along and support too.
Yeah, folks should definitely look into that because and more and more, I'm really excited to see, like you were saying, Jarrell, about the solidarity in the past 2 years. What I'm also seeing more are Black folks who are Indigenous, like claim their Black indigeneity.
Yeah.
Like everybody, we come out all shades, and it's there's nothing wrong with being in touch and understanding. You know, probably most people do have some Indian in them. If
Yeah.
we assimilated and we were welcoming and we mixed. And if you go to my home community in Robeson County, North Carolina, you'll definitely see the spectrum where you'll be like, that person is Black, right? Or that person is white. Because we present in all kind of ways, because
Yeah.
we've been the first point of contact for colonization was in North Carolina. And then of course, with slavery and everything that happened, we've all just been there together, and
Yeah.
we are who we are. But I think everyone in the community can, one thing you can do in November is, if you don't know whose land you're on, that's like a good practice, is like look up. You can go to native native, oh god, I'm gonna get it wrong. I think it's native-land.ca might be the right website.
And I'll
And
follow
it's
up with
just
you
this,
to get that out for social media. Yeah.
yeah, I think that's it. And you can go there and like see, whose land you're on and the history of the people there. And just know that wherever you are, there's probably a Native organization. There's probably Native people you probably go to school with or work with.
Yeah.
So we're not a relic of the past. We're working really hard to shift that narrative, because when you Google Native American, you kind of get pictures of Sitting Bull and all those
Right.
folks. But we've got folks working in all kind of industries. Ava DuVernay just came out with some news last week that she and some folks are about to produce the very first like mainstream TV show about a Native family, like a modern Native
Perfect.
family, which I'm
All
super
right.
excited
That's
about.
cool.
Because these
Come on,
things
That's
Ava.
matter, right?
awesome.
Right.
Yes.
Love me some Ava.
Come on,
She's
auntie,
always doing
auntie.
it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
She works, and
She does. She
Yeah.
really
always
does.
doing something great.
Like I went to Central Michigan University, which our mascot, I hate that terminology, is a Chippewa. But we're like, our school was so intertwined with the local Chippewa tribe that our university was very respectful. Like we didn't have a mascot Indian like a lot of universities have over time. We had like a flying C, but over the years, they've stayed in touch with them to say, hey, do we still continue to utilize your name as a university? We don't want to be disrespectful. So it's always been interesting. You hear like the Washington Redskins and things like that, and how polarizing it is, rightfully so. I'm glad they changed the damn name about time. But a lot of folks are like, well, Carell, didn't you go to Central Michigan Chippewas? And I'm like, yeah. And literally our university checks in damn near yearly saying, okay, is it still correct to utilize this? How do you want us to utilize it? And things like that.
Right.
And I think that's the way to be intertwined and make sure that you're representing correctly. And then that you're having their voices at the seats, at the tables. We're not stomping in. And I'm sure over time that's probably gradually, because I'm sure when it first started, it wasn't that way. But it was always the norm for us at school to be like, no, we're respecting our local community and our tribes here, because this is their land that we're chilling on and drinking on and partying on,
And we'll
That
party
part.
with you now.
Right, hey, I'll be right there with you, boo. And I have one last question before we get you out of here. I know we're getting on time. So you're in philanthropy, and a lot of times it's hard for a lot of the underrepresented communities to get money. How do they get money? How do they come correct to all these organizations saying my T's are crossed, my I's are dotted, to better increase their opportunities to get these dollars that they need?
Yeah, fundraising is very much like dating, and I see someone had a dating question which looks interesting over there, but
Oh, you're welcome to stay.
I gotta stay a little bit longer to hear about that.
Yes.
But it's kind of like it, fundraising is sort of it's like dating in the sense that it's very relationship based, right? Like you have to if you know somebody who works at one of these institutions, your opportunity or your chances of getting the money is like drastically increased because it's kind of like human nature, right? So like if I'm gonna buy Girl Scout cookies, I'm more likely to buy them from a little girl in my building versus like a stranger across town because I'm like, I see her, she's right here in my network. So it's you have to first of all kind of do your research. There are thousands and thousands and thousands of foundations out there, just like there are thousands and thousands and thousands of men's out there, right?
Yes.
So you got to do your research and be like, okay, so this is what the kind of man I'm looking for. So let me narrow down, for people who are like within the universe of what I'm looking for, right? And then like, oh, they're married. I'm going to go to traditional rock because I know nowadays it don't matter. But say, oh, they're married, they're married, so they're not available. They're whatever. And so you get it down to like hot prospects, right? After you do your research. And then with those, you begin dating, right? You try to set up. Can you get coffee with somebody? Can you have a call or a conversation? And you don't ask somebody for money in the first meeting, right? Like the same way, like on the first date, unless maybe you're a lesbian. Just kidding. You don't ask someone to like move in with you or to marry you, right?
Gays do that too.
My lesbian friends out there, right? Like you can't be too thirsty, right? You gotta act like you don't want the money. You're there to like actually connect and learn and get their expertise about your program or whatever. And after in the dating process, you'll kind of know like this is going to be a match for somebody who might fund my program. And then after you kind of get to know somebody, then you can kind of make the pitch. So you gotta work that relationship before you get to the ask. So you can't, it's hard. And it's hard for people of color, right? Because we don't have the network, right? Like who do we know? We don't have the family and friends plan to get a connection in. So what I would say is if you can find somebody from your community that works in an institution, they might be more open to like connecting with you and helping you out if they're not internalized, trying to hoard everything to themselves in there. But right. Also, there are networks that really create more access. So like if you're an artist, there's like, funder networks for artists. If you're doing work in the LGBT community, there's like funders for LGBTQ issues. If you're doing work in like immigrant rights work, there's affinity groups where these kind of funders gather to help you kind of narrow down, and maybe you can go to their conference and present about your work and like network and meet folks. But you gotta get out there. Like just sending in like cold letters, to foundations, it's not gonna result in you getting funding.
Right.
Most likely. So
there's a bit of a long game to it. It's not about like just the short, I could just do this one thing. Right. Yeah, I just can't do this one thing and then boom, all these doors open. Like you're gonna have to go trick-or-treating. You got to knock on a few doors.
Don't just stick it in there. Just warm it up a little bit. A little
you got to lube it up a little bit.
That's right. And when you give them that good, they're gonna keep on funding you. So.
Okay, you know what? You gotta say a word today.
That's real. That is real.
Edgar, where can they find you?
I'm on all the socials. So my handle is @Villanueva Edgar on the gram and on Twitter, and I'm even on Facebook still. And I'm thinking about TikTok. I started an account, but that looks hard. That's a lot.
Girl, it is. Yep. Don't listen to Auntie Carell.
I'll be on it.
Oh, it's so easy.
I'll be on it.
Do you make the videos where you jump into your clothes? I'm like, that
haven't.
Would take like 5 hours.
I'll send you my favorite one. I'll send you my favorite one that I've done.
Okay. She's been doing choirs. She's been doing wig change, outfit changes. She's been doing the most.
Look, I'd be tired. I'd be tired just looking at his videos. Like,
It'd
ain't
be
nobody got time
everything.
for that.
Hey, that's
It
okay.
just seems
I
hard.
do. It's
But
fun. It's
yeah.
fun. And also make sure to check out his book too, Decolonizing Wealth, Indigenous Wisdom to Heal Divides and Restore Balance. It's a good read. Like I said, I was writing all in this bitch. So, but if we can steal 5 minutes from you, we'll have you to answer this question real quick, and then we'll get you out your way. So, okay,
But
what time? Oh,
well, wait
ahead.
a minute before we do this.
Oh,
because
yeah.
you and I had a conversation.
Yes, we did.
So, Darrell.
Y'all ain't shit. Y'all ain't shit.
Okay, so Edgar, just so that you know, and community knows this because they listened to us last week. I reached out to Darrell right before our podcast recording, and I put a little bet out there because Carell was in Puerto Vallarta
I was in PV last week
and living his life, having his anniversary fun, and so we basically had this little bet of what he was going to wear. It was something super super easy or whatever, but whoever lost had to take a shot.
So this week, DeJuan hits me up and says, okay, you want to have some more fun? He's like, so the bet is Jarrell going to have pants on or not? And I said, yes.
Oh, we got on pants.
I lost because we found out a few weeks that she normally doesn't have pants on during the podcast. Right. And we're like, wait, what? We've done how many episodes?
She's a nudist, baby.
So I lost. I said you weren't gonna have any. So here's my shot.
I'm gonna do it with you, girl.
So that was fun.
Only fair because Carell, you made me drink last week because you had on a damn t-shirt. So.
I know. I had a t-shirt and not a tank top.
You know, I think DeJuan is sabotaging over here because he's been winning. He's 2 for 2 right now.
He is 2 for 2.
I mean, but here's the thing: I don't pick first.
Yeah.
So if I'm putting it out there, I'm putting it out there for y'all. Y'all pick first, and I'll take whatever's left because the reality of it is I'm gonna take a shot no matter what.
That part.
She an OG. She an OG. She can handle her liquor.
It's so funny. I was getting ready, and I was like, "Oh, I still got these damn pants on. Why do I have these pants on?" Because it's been so cold in the morning that I put on sweatpants, and I get so busy with work, I just don't take them off. But for the last few months, I don't sleep with anything on, so I just put some underwear on and I just go to work. You know, I'll be here working. You know,
become that jerky tubing.
But now it's been cold. It's been cold. Look, and that's been making sure that I put clothes on after
because
that last
of that
week.
Zoom incident.
Look.
All right, so let's get into it. What time is it?
Ask
your
auntie.
All right, so here we'll do the second one. Actually, it's a little juicier.
Yes.
So it says, okay, so I need some boy advice. So I met this bouncer at a gay club about a month ago, and he asked me for my number. He was pretty cute, so I gave it to him, but I didn't think he was gay. So I went over to his house to hang out one night, and we were watching movies, and one thing led to another, and we didn't have sex, but we did do other stuff. What is this other stuff? He didn't say. I told him I'm looking for a boyfriend right now, not really a hookup, and he respected that and said it would take him a while to warm up to the relationship. We hang out once a week. Now I go over his house, we cuddle and do other stuff, talk a little, but nothing seems to be progressing anywhere. What should I do? And we'll let Edgar.
We're gonna let you go first.
I'm like, what is other stuff?
That part.
Sex is sex.
We're not having sex, but you doing other stuff.
Are you touching the D?
Right.
Come on.
Exactly.
It's more like a lick, probably.
They're docking. They're docking.
Oral. Is it oral if it ain't going in my mouth? Like,
ducking the weaving.
They're docking. That's what they're doing.
Oh,
right. Well, I have in my younger years, I probably have changed more in my later years. But when I was younger, I had a hard and fast rule of like not dating anybody who worked in a gay club because I'm like, they're a hoe.
Yeah.
I mean, like, the access that they.
It's a lot of access.
That was my assumption that you were always out, whether you wanted to be or not, because you're working out, you're getting advances all the time and seeing like what's what. And so I felt like the likelihood of finding someone who wanted to be in a like committed relationship, I wasn't going to find someone working in nightlife.
Right.
So I'm like, if you are looking for that, then I would say that's probably not the right place, or I would just be cautious. And I know it's an old-fashioned assumption, but that's where I would, that's kind of the first thing that jumped out to me. God, you can't make somebody love you. You know what I mean? If they don't.
I
You
can't
make their heart
make
feel
you
something
love
it won't.
me if you don't.
Come
on
you better
now.
give me them
Come
lyrics.
on.
Give me them lyrics.
Come on.
So, and if you did something more than like other stuff, then you might get them. You know what I mean? Like whatever this other stuff is, you need to make it hot. Like make it hot. You gotta work them down until they give in. You know what I mean? Until you could trap his ass.
What Megan say?
Yeah.
That's true.
I don't know that I buy this like this Pollyanna story that's being told. I'm just there's something
Think they
about
left some
it
details out.
just something about it just don't sound right to me. And maybe that might be the tequila talking. I don't know. But it just don't sound right. It don't sound right. I mean,
what don't sound right to you?
That all they doing this entire time is he's going over there, they Netflix and chilling, and ain't no chilling going on.
I mean, it's possible. I mean, it's possible. I mean, like we got in a relationship and we were traveling across the country to each other for the first 4 months of our relationship and still wasn't having sex. So it's possible.
Wait, were you doing other stuff?
We were doing other stuff. We were doing other stuff.
And what is this other stuff bucket? What constitutes other stuff? That's what I'm trying to learn out of this whole thing. What is other stuff? It's like purple. It's like purple stuff.
No.
Stuff.
You grew up in the Christian lifestyle too. You know what other stuff means. Don't act brand new. You know exactly what other stuff means.
Not in the front, but in the back.
Other stuff means. Other stuff means the only way you get an STI is in your mouth.
Got it. Or your hands. Give a little handy.
On your hands.
Yeah, right.
Gotcha. Okay.
Why he have two hands?
I don't know why. I don't know.
Because he was wheelchairing it.
I just told him. I just told him myself. I just told him my other stuff.
She's like, Edgar, peep that real quick. Wait.
You ain't got to be a bouncer in a club to be a hoe.
Oh, Lord. Just told on myself subconsciously. But that's my old days. You know, I'm a married lady
I'm
now.
married now.
Oh man, I don't know. I think Edgar nailed it though. Like, you can't make nobody love you. Now hold on. The person told you that, like, oh wait, oh no, you said you're not looking for a boyfriend. So you told this person you ain't looking for that, and now that's what you want. Say what you mean. Like, you can't like try to trap somebody.
He said I told him I'm looking for.
Oh, he's looking.
Right
see,
now. Not really a hookup.
There we go. Got the glasses back on.
I'm looking for a boyfriend right now, not a hookup.
Not really. Yeah, not a hookup.
Oh, so is he overly
there was a time in a young boy's life. She had gone through a breakup. And I was on the apps, and met up with this guy or whatever.
On the apps.
Right, he saw
I'm trying to like make it old,
on them what you call them apps.
On the YouTubes.
Right.
That's on everything to make it sound real old. Right. But there was a time when after I had a breakup and I was not in the mood for like doing really anything, but I was like, companionship, whatever. It's like, okay, well, you can come over. And there was a guy that like I hung out with, and like I said, I didn't want to do anything, but we can just hang out. And he's like, okay, well, can I stay over? It's like, yeah, you can stay over, whatever, slept in the same bed. But every single time we weren't doing just other stuff. You know,
if it's there, you're gonna do it.
When
how you gonna look at
backing up, it just
you just
gotta,
over here hitting it like I'm supposed to do with this.
Like you gotta go. Just
once or twice.
Yeah,
right.
Double
put
Dutch
the head in.
Oh Lord Jesus. I don't know. Like, it sounds to me, he said, and he respected that and said it would take him a while to warm up to a relationship. So that was the first thing. He already kind of told you from the get-go. Yeah. And then you also said you're looking for it and not really hook up. So he ain't hooking up with you, but he also don't want the relationship. So move on. If you want to hook up, then say that. If you if you like him enough and you want a relationship, say that to see where he stands. If he tells you I don't want a relationship, keep him moving. But like, it feels like you're both kind of this weird, not really saying what you want to do kind of thing.
You're cuddle buddies.
Dinner, like,
you're cuddle buddies. That's all it's gonna be. They're cuddle buddies.
I think this is more up to the person asking the question. I think you just need to be real and honest with yourself. Like you obviously say that you're looking for a relationship. You need to ask yourself, what does a relationship look like to you? And two, if a relationship don't look like this, which you're currently in with this person, then you need to keep it moving. Like at this point, trying to figure out what the other person doing is wasting your time at the end of the day.
Right.
Like,
and you're gonna run
like Edgar said earlier, there are thousands of men out there. Okay.
And you be at the club, obviously, so you could find somebody else. And you should have been at the club a month ago when we were in the pandemic in the first place. I don't know.
Right for the juggler. I know that's right.
Say that again, Auntie Absent.
Right.
Absent-minded.
I hope you had your mask. And if you get a mask, I got a decolonizer mask that you can buy.
Exactly. What that mask do? What that mask do?
Decolonizerworld.com get you a decolonizer mask. Okay.
Yes. Wait, do you got a combo set, like a mask and a t-shirt for like price 2 for 1?
You know, I haven't, but we'll probably have a Christmas special. You know.
Okay, there we go. Give me a t-shirt and a mask.
But I got one for y'all. I got one for y'all.
Though. Oh,
yeah. Honestly, I've been like buying masks. That's my thing now. I don't know why I'm wasting I'm in the house. I got mine. I'm like, find me something to look cute in when I step out to the grocery store.
And we're reminding these people that we're decolonizing them too at the same damn time.
Right.
That part. I do feel like there is this thing with a lot of young gays about having these certain kind of principles, but not really understanding how it plays itself out. Like if you're really looking for a relationship and the guy says, I'm not really there, but we can kind of see and figure it out. Well, you have to make a determination that does that work for you and be realistic about that expectation, because the likelihood that it will turn into a meaningful relationship,
slim to none,
less than 10%. Boo.
Yeah.
So, what should you do? Right. I mean, if I were you, I would just say, you know what, be friends, but start fishing. Start casting that net and start fishing.
And maybe not find them at the bar. I can't say that because I got married and I found Corey at the bar. So
I was going to say, do more than other stuff. And that may encourage you to stay in it longer. You may be like, you know what? The dick was actually worth it.
Right. Is it worth the wait? You need to find out.
It's a valid statement.
Everything got a price point. It might be in inches or dollar signs. You never know.
Okay. Let's play this situation out. So what should he do? Because now I'm sitting here thinking maybe he should bring like some toys over next time.
No, see, y'all playing games. Just say you want it. Hop on that motherfucker and ride no more.
Ride, Sally, ride. Come on now.
Enough of these damn games. He said what? A total do other stuff once a week. Okay, it's time to hop on or hop off.
That's too much. That's way too much. You can tell this person is young because he got nothing but time on his hands to play this whole situation out. Oh, what am I going to do?
I mean, we're also
a bitch like me ain't got that kind of time.
Everybody got time on their hands because we in a pandemic. So
yeah, we do got a little Mary J on our hands.
It may be that one time he done risked it, and he was like, you know what?
He's like, I got a couple more weeks in this pandemic. I could go and cuddle one more week.
Because that's the thing people are doing. People are locking up, are trying to lock up or find someone during the pandemic to be like, you know what? All right, I'm gonna mess around with you because I need something during this pandemic. And they mess around and find the wrong person, and then this is where you end up with questions like this.
All I know, there is a spectrum, because there are a pendulum. There are like people on one side that are like holding it down, but then there's a whole lot of people that are out there dipping in and doing it like ain't nothing going on. Like there ain't no pandemic going on. So
as long as you being safe out there, like
that part, ain't no shame. And I want to say that to the community. I ain't shaming people for out there, getting a dick wet during the pandemic. Because I'm fortunate. Look, I am fortunate to have a partner. I'm fortunate that I got me somebody to be
dipping low,
with, Christina Milian with. Okay, so we doing this. But I couldn't imagine.
Community, we be cracking up. This is a serious question. I know when you send your questions, they are serious. We like to have fun with it.
I couldn't imagine during this time doing it solo.
I just say find you another.
I'm an extrovert. So
just either let them know what you're feeling or hop out,
Yeah.
So.
You ain't got time for that.
Yeah, no. And continue to send your questions to Ask Your Aunties for aya@minorityReport.com or DM us and all that good stuff. But Edgar, I'm thankful for you spending a little extra time. I know we're a little over a lot of time.
Thanks for hopping on for that.
You are welcome anytime you want to come back. And next time I'm in New York, because you're in New York, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Next time I'm out there.
I'm in New York.
Dewan's in Harlem.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So whenever I finally get back out there,
we'll meet
when this pandemic. Because I think based on the math from earlier, I think we're in the same club.
Vicinity of age.
Yes.
Oh, about right.
You see these grays.
Them Clooney's popping out, girl.
All right.
We thank you, but community, go find him on social. Go buy his books.
Yes.
We support people of color. So spend them coins, get the book, get a mask, and a tea.
Okay. Buy me out.
All right.
Well, thank you all so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Boo.
All right.
You enjoy the rest of your night.
All right, y'all too.
All right, take care.
Bye.
Aw, thank you.
Where do we go from there?
You know what? Okay, you know what?
That was a good ass Ask Your Aunties.
Right? That was a good ass Ask Your Aunties. But there's something very important that we need to talk about next, and we ain't got no choice, and it needs to happen.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, after this episode comes out, is Election Day.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that if there are people in the community who are listening to this on that Monday, hell, if you listen to it on that Tuesday as well, go vote. Go vote. Yes. And if you have not voted,
bitch, what you waiting for?
Please, go vote. And on top of that, please make sure you are sharing, you are encouraging your circle and your people to do the same thing. Because it's one thing to listen to a friend or someone that you trust or you love, or listen to us for that matter, and be like, okay, I'm going to go vote, because they reminded me. Mm-hmm. But if we're reminding you, that means that there are other people who might need that reminder as well, too. So it is on all of us to hold all of us accountable.
Pack a snack.
Yeah.
Bring your headphones. Listen to us while you're waiting in line. Catch up on
FYI,
report, because it's going to be a line.
You got 90 episodes.
There you go.
And just FYI, a lot of jurisdictions. I can't talk.
Jurisdictions.
This liquor is hitting. I just took 2 shots, so it's going to be
another
the rest of the
now.
episode. There you go, bitch. But like a lot of localities are allowing people to kind of write in their ballots and just drop it off. So like, I waited. I just wanted the personal satisfaction of braving the fucking pandemic to push the button myself.
How long was your line? Like, I saw it on social.
2.5 hours.
Yeah.
Damn.
2.5 hours. We got it. We got there right at 10 o'clock. It opened at 10 o'clock, but it just took that long. And the line was like, it was around the corner, down the street, wrapped up around it, snaked around twice on the same block. So
did you take your headphones with you?
Oh yeah.
See,
Oh,
she
was
made
prepared.
a plan. She made a plan.
She was prepared, and
So,
there was, and kudos to the older dogs, because I guess she doesn't
she's
know
seasoned,
words.
darling.
Right?
Seasoned.
But kudos to the older dogs. They like Harlem showed out.
Good.
Harlem showed out. The older dolls had like their little fold-up chairs,
That's the way to do it.
They got out there and they sat down. They waited for 2 hours to get in there, just like I did or whatever.
Yep.
But I say all that to say, like, I physically wanted the satisfaction. I voted on a Saturday, so I had all goddamn day. But if you have the opportunity, you don't want to be waiting in line all day. Fill out your early ballot and just drop it off. And oftentimes they'll allow you to bypass the line that is waiting for, people doing their ballots on that day. And they'll have a separate line specifically for people that are just dropping their votes off electronically.
And know your rights on that day too. If the polls close while you're still in line, stay your ass in line. You can still vote. If you make a mistake on your ballot, ask for a new one. If the machines are down at your polling place, ask for a paper ballot. If you run into any problems or have any questions on that day, call the Election Protective Hotline, which is 1-866-OUR, OUR, vote. 1-866-OUR, OUR, vote, VOTE. So please know your rights. Don't let anyone talk you out of it, because actually that's illegal for people to be out there trying to get you out of line and tampering and things like that. So if you see that, call that line and call their ass and take their ass to jail.
One of our community members, and I didn't clear this with this individual, so I'll keep them anonymous, but one of our community members had mentioned that they were wearing a Black Lives Matter t-shirt and mask, and the pollsters at their polling location were asking people that have Black Lives Matter to either take their t-shirts off or turn it inside out. And that too is illegal.
Nope.
So can't nobody tell you what to wear. Can't nobody tell you what you can have on your body. Nobody can tell you any of those things. And if that happens, call that number.
Absolutely.
And I
think you can't wear like Trump or Biden stuff. Anything else?
Yeah.
I think
it's
illegal.
You can wear. You can.
Let me see.
I can just speak on New York. So you can wear whatever you want to wear, but what you can't do is loiter around the area as a way to influence votes.
Yes. Okay. That is the truth. Just like the police can't be doing certain stuff around there too, around it. Yeah. I think you can't be trying to convince people to vote one way or another. But if you're going in and going out, I think that is okay for you to do.
Yep, absolutely.
But I have the day off and I have the day after off, and I plan on going to a ballot box, because in Washington we mail in our votes. And yesterday on the news, I saw that in our county, for Seattle area, which is King County, we are already at 53% of voters for our county already. And in 2016, at this time, we were at 27% of voters that had already turned in the ballots. So it is crazy that people turn out. So what I plan on doing is I'm going to the ballot box over here at Garfield High School. And I have my pom-poms, I got my whistles, and I'm going to be cheering on people as they come in to vote. Like, I want to make it a thing, because we don't get that whole, like, waiting in a line and stuff like that. So you don't really get to cheer. You literally just dropping it off and ain't nobody there.
Right.
So I just want to cheer people on for the last day and just, make people feel good about doing their super duty and make sure that they vote. So that's how I plan on spending my election day.
Help your neighbor out if, like, their older neighbor and they don't know how they're going to get there. Drive their ass, Uber their ass, whatever you need to do. Make a plan now if you're hearing this on this Monday and this Tuesday, because
and also, go ahead.
Just because it's so incredibly important. Like you already just saw, they pushed in the new Supreme Court nomination. Yeah. This election is so critical for
and then shut down the Senate at that point. Afterwards, the day after,
that part.
Then shut down the Senate.
Yeah. Didn't push through the stimulus package, but they wanted to get the.
But remember, Trump was saying that it was the Democrats that were holding up the stimulus package. That it was them saying no. But here it is, it's the Republicans after they pushed the nominee saying we out.
And what I would also say is that we posted this a couple of days ago, but Lyft is providing you guys with a discount, and it's a Lyft and Nike are partnering together to provide you guys with a discount. So in a night 2020 is the discount that will give you a free passage to and from the polling locations.
And
I'm
so
glad
wherever
someone's
you are,
doing
you don't
that,
have
because I remember I had that idea. Remember I told y'all
Mhm.
like back in like August or July that I was hoping that Lyft or Uber or somebody would do
get the
something
church
like
bus
that.
if you need to, the church van.
Mhm.
Get a skateboard, surfboard, watermelon, whatever you need to get your ass to the damn polls. Like, I don't give a damn. And then here's the thing I don't want to hear either. That you was tired or you had to work late. We've done talked about this shit all year. We talked about this damn every week of this episode of this podcast.
The thing of it is that November 3rd is the last day to vote.
Yes.
It ain't the first day, and it's
No.
not the only day. It is the last day.
Mhm.
So if you are listening to this now and you haven't taken the opportunity to do so, I would encourage you to figure out a way to kind of get your vote in before Tuesday.
And the one thing I also want to say,
and don't
to the
mail it in
community
either.
too,
Like it's too late to mail it in.
Yes.
yeah, well, for certain states, because
pretty much all
states
of them.
like,
yeah, it had to.
well,
be
yeah, when the
20
podcast comes
Yeah.
out, yes,
It's too
it will
late.
be.
So hand that shit in
It will be
personally.
too late.
Yes, walk it in.
But one thing that I also want to say too, is do not expect to have a winner on November fucking 3rd. Okay. The truth of the fact is people are showing up. The numbers are going in the direction of the country, the majority, which is it's so far as polling in Biden's direction. But if we paid attention to anything, we paid attention to Trump and what he's doing with the USPS. Okay, we paid attention to Trump and the Republicans and what they just did to the Supreme Court. They are setting themselves up for, if Trump is to lose, that they are going to continue the fight and try to make sure. Yep, and all the way to the Supreme Court. Okay, so this is not over. So what I do not want people to think is, you voted, you done. You're not done. You're not done until Biden and Kamala Harris sit their asses in that White House.
January 20th.
At that point, you can hang up your heels
until the next election.
Take your wig off,
Right.
and you can relax until the next election. Until then, we are going to fight.
And the next election doesn't mean 4 years. The next election means next November. Thank you very much. Or maybe even primaries in March and things like that. So.
But when it comes to the presidency part, though, we want to make sure that we are not done until Trump is officially out. And he had already said in the first presidential debate, he ain't going down like no bitch.
Mm-hmm.
So they plotting, and that's probably the reason why they released the Senate for these next 2 weeks to begin with.
Oh, 100%. 100%. And I would also just encourage everybody that as you're making your votes, that you're voting Democratic across the board, because these Senate seats, we need to flip the Senate's. If we're going to avoid, so let us, I'm fully expecting that Biden's going to get Biden and Harris, because, I voted for Harris, but,
same
semantics.
Same. Same.
But when they get the election, in order for them to do anything, they need the Senate. So you need to make sure that you are voting blue all the way down the line to really ensure that we're going to be able to make some changes in this country.
And hopefully if you listen to this after Tuesday, even though it's probably going to take a few days if you listen to it by the weekend, hopefully we partying by now. Hey, you about to lose your job. You're about to lose your job. Because
I want to be on that energy so bad. I want to be on that energy so bad. But when I tell y'all, when I think about the elections, I get sick.
Oh my God, same here.
I physically get sick. And I just
conversation.
And I think just also about I think about just even the racism I've experienced in this fucking country. There's no way I can have any type of confidence as a gay black man in this country. I have been let down, oppressed, and bamboozled so many times that I'm just like, Okay. It's up to a white man. It's literally up to white people. Like,
what that old girl say on Instagram? She said, "I do not need you to be my savior and my oppressor."
Right,
exactly.
She said, "I am not here to be respectful."
Exactly. I'm not here to be nice.
Because I saw that.
I already read you to Phil. I ain't got nothing else to say to you.
Right.
Ooh, I saw that. I posted that laying in bed, and I was like in bed, like, and it was like 12:30 at night.
Look, I was ready to start a whole day. I was ready.
I had a whole conversation, with my work team about ensuring that we have plans in place in the office, because everybody works remotely, right? No matter what your sector is. And I had to have a conversation, a reminder. I said, hey, we have our touch bases every, our whole like HR team. We have a touch base every Wednesday, and this is when we record, so on Wednesday nights. And I just had to remind her. I said, hey, we started thinking about what emotional care is going to look like on vacation, on the election day and the day after that. Because regardless of however the election pans out, we need to start thinking about that just, in our spaces. And the reason I'm sharing that with you is that, kind of piggybacking on what Jarrell is saying, you have to get a plan for how you are going to maintain your emotional health for whatever happens. Because as those votes are coming in, as we get to like the 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock hour, and they start calling and whatnot.
Now my stomach's on the churn.
That part. And then we go into the very next day, just be mindful and thoughtful about the conversations that you're having on those 2 days. Be mindful and thoughtful about your emotional state during those days, Lord. And make sure that you are taking precautions to be in the right, be in the right place for you and what you need.
Oh, jeez.
Because I might have to take a day off. I
have it off. I knew. I just think of 2016, and I remember I was at Lush Bar in Northeast Minneapolis. And I just remember being like, I started taking shots, and I was like, he gonna win. And at this time, Hillary was in the lead. And by the end of the night, before bar closed, it was 2 a.m. And I was like, I said it. This is why we drunk. And I was literally at work, hungover the next day, and I was just so sad. And you are absolutely right, Duan. I appreciate and I love that you're having that conversation.
Yes.
With people at your job, because that is really important. It's really, really important.
Companies are responding right now to the Black Lives Matter movement, right? And in some instances, in most instances, in very meaningful ways, which is great. But this thing that's happening right now, this kind of like this battle, and I'm not choosing that word lightly, this battle that's happening right now for the White House, this is going to be traumatic. It's going to be emotional. It's going to, and it bleeds into everything. It bleeds into our work life. It bleeds into our relationships. It bleeds into our connections with our friends and our family. Yep. So all I'm saying is be thoughtful about how you're spending that very next day, as much as if anything, if you're thinking about how you're spending the day of, be very thoughtful about what you're doing the day after.
Oh man, like I'm getting emotional thinking about it. It's gonna be a lot. Because I can't talk.
Honestly, go ahead, baby.
I'm moving. If it don't go where we needed this to go,
where you fit to go?
I'm out. Well,
let me know.
First of all, I think we're gonna have to go to Mexico for the first bit, because that's the only place we can travel.
That's the only place. Facts.
And then if I can stay in Mexico so my thought is, because what I don't want to do is put a whole lot of energy into this, because I don't want to manifest it. So I'm trying not to talk about it a lot.
Okay, you know what? We'll talk about in hindsight. When we win, then we'll be like where we would have win.
Right. Exactly.
I'll be in Europe. I'm telling Fizz right now.
They are burning up in Europe. They are burning up.
Let me tell you, Fizz
COVID
still has his citizenship. We out.
In Kosovo?
Yep. We out.
Yeah.
We going to Mexico at the end of the year. We going to Mexico at the end of the year. We getting married in Mexico in them 8 days that we there. And a bitch is out in Kosovo the following week. Bet.
It's fun,
Bet.
like being in Mexico. Even like the cab driver and Uber drivers and things like that. Even they are making sure that we're voting for Biden. And rightfully so, because like Trump like personally attacked Mexico. But it's just like it's so much bigger. Like we concentrate so much of just like the U.S. and how much like we're like we have to make this happen. The world is like for the most part. There's obviously like Russia and
Special
Iran
interests,
and things like that.
China.
Iran, China that don't. But like the world is even like y'all better not fuck this up again.
Yeah.
Like
it's
the world is looking at the world is like you know that you're like you better not like a parent at the you giving you like that eye in the grocery store like
but
you,
here's the funny thing about it.
You know that saying that George Bush Jr. fucked up. Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me, you ain't gonna fool me a second time.
Right, he's not gonna fool me a second time.
No.
But you know,
like,
but here's the sad thing about it.
Oh.
The sad thing about it is this is where we find out where, and I think as POCs we know this because we've seen this country use the laws against us. Okay, this is going to be the election where the world sees the laws used against the country.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where we're going to start seeing those constitutional white men.
White men are like literally digging their heels in right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're holding on. They are holding white straight men.
Right.
Let's be clear. You know, because
white straight men. Yeah,
some
right.
white gay men.
And some white gay men.
And some Candace Owens out there too.
Because we got some allies out there that are for the cause.
Yes. But I'm talking about the laws in which, especially in the Constitution, that are built around white men. Whether you're gay or straight, the Constitution is built around helping you, okay? And this is where the world and the country, I feel like, is going to see, because this is how Trump has evaded jail. This is how he has made his life, his legacy on using these laws to benefit him as a white man.
Because they were made by white men.
Exactly. Absolutely.
Laws in, like we said earlier, like what did we say it again that we messed up? The master's tools will never dismantle the master's house.
Yes.
Burn the house down.
And so we gotta burn this motherfucking effort down.
Absolutely. So and so I just know for a fact that this is gonna be messy either way it goes. But at the same time, I'm finding a lot of like hope and reassurance that this ain't gonna happen. This ain't gonna happen again. It happened the first time in 2016. This is the second time this happened. It ain't gonna happen the third time in fucking 2024 because this younger generation, let me tell y'all,
they are showing
out. Paying attention. They are showing the fuck.
They are showing up and showing out.
All the way through.
Doing TikTok dances the whole time too.
I am hoping, and I'm optimistic. I'm hoping that what we end up seeing on November 3rd is just a landslide so epically that regardless of any state or like any political party that wants to try to challenge it, that it wouldn't even make a difference.
Like a statement was made. And this just breaking on USA Today, Supreme Court leaves in place Pennsylvania's November 6th deadline for return of absentee ballots. So that's at least one state we do know after November 3rd that if the absentee ballot starts to continue to roll in, they will continue to count. So at least we know it's going to be at least November 6th.
Swing state.
Because one of the questions was specifically for Pennsylvania, whether or not they would A, uphold that, and then B, whether or not that case would then escalate up to the Supreme Court. So that's a huge win for the Biden camp, because what that means is it honors those votes, and we don't have to worry about that being a battleground state in terms of the validating these early
days. Exactly. So
because some states you have to be postmarked and received by election day, and in some other states you have to just be postmarked before the election day. And Pennsylvania, if I'm not mistaken, is one of those states where you just have to be postmarked before the election date, but it
So
can be
don't
received
expect your
afterwards.
little Amazon packages if it's by USPS too to be getting
Yeah.
there. Let them
That
balance.
part.
Like
Let
you don't
them-
need that
right.
good. That you don't need
You'll
that.
be good.
You'll be all
Matter
right.
of fact, just
Also-
don't order anything. Just
Right.
don't order anything from Amazon for the next
Clear
week.
up the
like 2
whole
weeks.
USPS so we make sure the shit's delivered on
Don't give them a
time.
reason.
Seriously, be like,
I do want to clear up one.
At least I got my my new denim jeans. Bitch, no,
Right,
you need that
exactly.
fucking
To
ballot
wear in the
there.
house, to wear in the damn
Right.
house.
We're on the
But
plane
I-
to Europe.
Right. I do got one thing that I want to say, and I want to clear this up. I did say on the last episode, or not, 2 episodes ago, I personally said that for me, this isn't about, Democrat, Republican. It's about getting Trump out. After this whole Amy thing, it is all the above. Bitch, it is. It's Democrat, Republican, and it's about getting old boy out the house. Because
That's why I
apparently,
said we got more
because
voting
it's
to
obvious
do.
as fuck, the motherfuckers don't give a fuck
They don't
about the rest of us
care.
either. So,
Yeah.
you know what?
Care.
I'm looping everybody who's a Republican up in that bitch. As far
Because
as
you
I'm
voted for the
concerned.
Republicans.
Y'all all got to go.
That's why I
And
said you
y'all
got
all-
2, 3, 4 more years of voting consistently because we gotta get everybody out. Everybody that
Everybody
stand
gotta
up
go.
against Trump, everybody that did this shit, that voted for old girl, all 52 of y'all,
Mm-hmm.
you're next. You're
Mhm.
next.
I think that the tough part is going to be the aftermath. Like, Biden and Harris getting the election, and then knowing like there are people that I know, like family that I know that have voted for Trump,
Yeah.
and also in the previous election and most other elections voted for voted for Obama, but in this past election, because of impacts to like small businesses and things like that, they voted like their financial interests. And the fallout is, how do you navigate those relationships knowing that people
Voted for
that
their
are
finances over humans.
over humans,
Like it
profits
gets
over
me every
people.
time. Like it's literally my day in, day out. Like I won't even put it in anyway, but
yeah.
it's literally my day in and day out right
Mhm.
now in a personal sense. How to navigate these relationships,
Mhm.
even
Knowing
in
that they don't give a damn about, they don't give as much of a damn about you as a person that they do their own
Exactly,
personal
that I'm
finances.
lower on their totem pole because money trumps me,
Mhm.
and then knowing, yeah.
And
I gotta watch
it's
what I
being
say
it's
right
being
now.
black, it's being gay, it's being a woman, it's reproductive
It's a
rights,
lot.
it's
a
the
lot.
right to education, it's your right to free healthcare. Like all of these things are on the line, and
Like in
it'll
Mexico, it
be
was
interesting.
like Corey was so upset in Mexico because like there was this family, and there's probably like 10 to 15 of them that were down there that were clearly Trump supporters. And Corey's pretty vocal. Corey, like after a point, if he's upset, you're gonna know, and everybody's gonna know, and he's not gonna stop until you know, and something is done. And he was like, "I'm so pissed because they're in fucking Puerto Vallarta, yet you voted for a guy that wants to close us off from Mexico."
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I get it. I was like, we're all walking contradictions. Like that was the only
Mhm.
justification I could honestly give, because it's true. We all justify what we need to justify. But he was so upset every day because they were loud, and you heard some of the conversations and things like that. And he's like, why the hell are you here
Mhm.
when you're voting for people that don't want, like, Mexicans in our country, and you want a wall to separate us? He's like, you should not be here right now. Like, why do you care to vacation here? But you don't want the reverse it within our country.
Because
And I was
you
like,
white.
I hear you.
Yeah.
Because you
And-
white.
Absolutely. And you're used to the privilege of doing what the hell you want to do.
Exactly.
Like, if it doesn't make sense, even if it's a
Exactly.
contradiction,
Just
even if you're
like
justifying it.
Just like them slave owners that were so racist that they would whip somebody to death, that would also have sex with the black women and father all these children.
And the black men. Let's be all the way real.
And the black men.
Let's be all the way real.
I mean, we do carry a lot.
You know, a heavy load. But
I do. I have to give a plug.
You carry that bushel of cotton a little bit,
right? But yeah, so
honestly, I have to give a quick plug, a political plug. I have to, for my cousin Tanade Broughton in the Pensacola region. She is running for City Council District 5.
Nice.
And
where's that at?
It's in the Pensacola region, Florida. Yep. And so, like, if you know someone down there, like, I encourage you to go check out my cousin Tanade Broughton. That's TENIADE Broughton, BROUGHTON. She's on she is a person who is on the actual grounds doing the fucking work. She's the first time running, and the person who has been there before needs to go. Yeah. And it's important that we are making sure that the voices that are representing us are people who are actually doing the work, who's been where we've been, that are voting, not those who either A, forgot where they come from, or B, have never experienced where we come from.
Yeah. I love what you posted. I just saw what you posted on Facebook, and it's a thing that says, if you have a black friend and you don't understand their pain right now, you don't have a black friend. You simply know a black person.
That part.
That is amazing.
That part. Seriously.
It's real. It's so real.
That is a real statement. That is a real statement.
Because we're so quick to compartmentalize people.
That's for all people of color. You like, there's a lot of. I mean, you just heard Edgar and his story, and like literally, the Native Americans were the first ones that the white people did some ill shit to. You know,
them damn fucking blankets and fucking syphilis.
Literally. So it's a lot of historical trauma that honestly they've proven gets wrapped into your DNA. That is passed down, you know, not just the stories that we hear in the situations we still go through. A lot of PTSD and trauma they find gets wrapped up into your DNA, and that's why it's so hard to get over a lot of stuff. You tell us to get over it. No, it's all encompassing. You know, we do the best. We for all the shit we've been through, we do some dope ass shit. You know,
we are the culture of the country. We are the culture of the country.
So it's just like,
So speaking of culture, what about did anybody watch the BET Hip Hop Awards?
I missed it. Like
I
saw some of the clips, but I missed it.
Yeah, I missed it too. But however, I did see oh my God, what's his name? Toby? Yes, Toby.
Mm-hmm.
His performance.
Oh, I haven't seen that one yet.
Oh, bitch!
I haven't seen it either.
First of all, when he opens his line, he goes, "Try Jesus, but don't try me, because I fight." I said, bitch, you right. You right. I sure do. Let me tell you, I saw that at 6:50 a.m.
Wait, you hadn't seen that before last night?
No. I heard the song before, but I saw the performance at 6:50 a.m. today when we were recording. And when I tell you, I clocked in with my whole ass elbow at work today saying, bitch, don't try me. I was getting rid of my fucking because I was
Jesus.
Like, it was everything.
Don't try me, because I throw hands. That's the word of 2020.
It was so good. But the whole performance was absolutely amazing. Like, the lyrics of that whole song was literally everything. Everything. I forget who was the other artist that was on there too on the performance, but she was like,
it's his wife.
It's his wife. She was like, I dropped 2 babies and still snap back down y'all like it ain't nothing.
That's his wife.
I was like, bitch.
Yeah, okay, they both on them.
I was like, bitch, you clowning on them. Y'all had to go hard like that. And then I also appreciate Tiana Taylor,
the Cypher,
Erykah Badu, and Brandy on the Cypher.
And Brandy.
And Brandy on the Cypher. That was everything to me.
It was.
I liked hers, I think, the best. Because she was talking about just like all the politics of Breonna Taylor.
Yeah.
And then Erica's always killing it. Like
her wordplay is just
all the time,
like masterful.
All
her
the time.
wordplay.
Yes.
Wordplay.
It was good. So
then I watched the City Girls. You know, you gotta get a little ratchet moment in there.
Right. Yeah. And shout out to Megan Thee Stallion. Bitch, you got Hip Hop Artist of the Year.
Go ahead,
Best
man.
Hustler
Over all the
of
dudes.
the Year.
Over all the dudes.
Yeah, over all the dudes, she got Best Hustler of the Year as well. And then she got Best Collaboration as well, too, with her and Beyonce for Savage Remix.
She got her foot
And-
shot up like Della Reese and still came up on top.
You said, you stop it. You said got her foot shot up like Della Reese.
Look.
There my pinky go. Where my pinky toe? There it is.
Ooh, Jesus. But yeah, there was something else I was gonna say was coming. Oh, Drake announced his new album for January.
Yes.
Busta Rhymes' new album will be out by this time, so I'll be listening to that.
Yeah, I'm super excited for that because look at how Missy Elliott just like came back in defining like where she is and like just visually explosive, and he's part of that like very strong lyricist, but also very visually stimulating. So it'll be really interesting. I don't care for
the first single as much with him and Anderson .Paak. It's okay.
Yeah, I mean it's a little.
It's okay.
I was actually disappointed because Anderson .Paak flows and his lyrics, like how he writes his lyrics, is great. I was expecting so much more from them, and it was almost like.
It almost seemed like it was like a teaser song, and then like the real first single come out, but I haven't seen the real first single come out.
I feel like this song was kind of like a mood setter, you know what I mean? And then he's gonna come out with. I mean, I'm hopeful that he'll come up with.
But that could have been so much more though.
20 years
between Anderson .Paak and Busta Rhymes though. That literally could have been everything.
Yeah,
it could have. Yeah.
I mean,
it was kind of dry.
Yeah, I feel like they were. I feel like that just happened. They just happened to be two men that were bored doing quarantine. And they put a song together, and they went off their names alone.
For sure. It was. I think it was. I would wonder, and I think that it was more about like who can drive the most publicity versus coming out with quality music.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So we'll see. We'll see when it comes out.
Do you like Ariana's new song, Jarrell?
Positions is okay. I feel like it's
a typical Ari song.
I feel like it was very typical.
Yeah.
At this time, her album would already come out, so I'll check with y'all next week. Once the album comes out, and I'll let y'all know how I really feel.
Right. I mean, she still sounds good. Like her voice is.
She sounds good. I thought that, like first of all, when she said like meet your mom on a Sunday and then basically fuck you on a Monday, I said, bitch, okay. Like I was like, I know what you're talking about.
Been there, done that.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I'm like, oh, your family like me. Come get this good. You know, like we ain't all in soda like that before. You know, so. I mean, we'll see how it goes. But
because I like her background. She always has good background.
But who I'm excited for is I know her is coming out with an album because she didn't drop two songs. Dropped two songs out on Saturday Night Live.
Yeah.
Damage and Hold On. Yep. And both of them just give me that old school, like kind of two-step where you
she just got that old school vibe. She's just an old soul.
She really do. She really do. She just makes me just want to like just sip and smoke. You know, like just back in the 90s, you know how you used to have like a little glass and you used to just, you know.
How you sip and smoke at your age in the 90s, girl?
Right.
He was like, nah.
She watched videos. She watched movies.
No.
She saw Friday. She know what's up.
My parents were children. My parents were children in the 90s, okay? So I remember seeing them as children. Okay. You know, as 23, 24.
You better not be on no porch sipping and smoking that in 99.
But I remember that vibe, you know, watching them kind of do that, you know. So I'm excited for that. And I'm excited for Tori Kelly's holiday album to come out.
Girl, I can't wait. I put that on social a couple weeks ago. I can't wait.
That's going to be everything.
It's going to be. And it's with Babyface?
Yes, with Babyface. Yes. And let me tell you this too. Her song, Favorite Time of the Year with NDRE and her is already one of my favorite damn songs. Girl. Like, bitch.
Oh, I can't even put words. It's gonna be so good because she be singing.
She
She
about
be
to have her wig on fire. She
singing.
do. She used to. Tori Kelly was my last concert I've been to. Tori
Oh,
Kelly was
really?
the last. Yeah,
She was my last one before we
year.
left Dallas. Like we saw her back in 2017.
I saw her last year.
I
saw her last year in March. Yeah. No, it was April, and it was for like the soul sessions with her and her guitar. And so it was like acoustic.
The only thing I'm still waiting for Tori, I just need her to have one very Ariana-esque album. Like I feel a lot of her albums, which I adore, are so very songwriter, folksy artists that you had to be in the mood to listen to them, even though she's singing a freaking face off. I need a bop of an album from Tori. Just one, and then go back to your singer-songwriter.
She gave me, I'll say this. She gave me a bop of an album, but it was a Christian album.
Yeah. Oh, that was a dope album because Kirk Franklin helped it. Yes, that was a dope album.
That was a dope ass album. I ain't gonna lie. She gave us the album, but it was Christian.
Yeah.
But I'm right. Like when it comes to Ari, I just don't see her being Ari. I
know she's not going to do it. But
no, she's just
one album.
I
like
want
the top producers out there,
right?
Like,
I want that as a fan. I want that as a fan, not because that's who she is. As a fan, I just want everyone else to love
see
her
how dope she is.
Exactly, and that's the only reason why I want it.
Because I just like I feel like I hate when like you have those artists that are just good songwriters singing and everything, like almost like an Indie Ari. Indie Ari is dope as hell. Her albums are dope, but she just never got the credit, and so like it just takes even longer now for her to release albums and things like that, and we just don't get it. I just need one blow up moment for Tori Kelly, so she could get the accolades and the funds to continue her career. Because
I mean, but the truth is, Indie Ari, she did. However, she didn't want to play the game. She did not want to play the game.
Right on that too.
And I am okay with that. Yeah. I'm okay with that.
But damn it, I need it, Tori. I need it.
But that's the same issue with Tori. Is Tori doesn't want to play that game either.
She doesn't.
She don't. But so I'm okay with that.
So maybe the Christmas album will be the one then. Maybe it's because like at least it's still PG enough. Like because like she's very into Christianity and things like that, which I adore. So I don't see her for really doing a lot of the ratchet shit, which is fine. So maybe the Christmas avenue will be the avenue for her for it to be so good and so commercial that people are like, oh wait, hold on, let me go check for Tori.
Do you remember Ariana Grande's Christmas album?
It was so.
You remember the time?
But you barely remember it though. Like a lot of people don't know
she didn't do a lot of standards on it. She kind of. I hate when people do a lot of new Christmas songs and they're not good.
Yeah, that's true.
Like I don't want to hear 808s and trap.
But you know who also had a good Christmas album? Kelly Clarkson.
Oh, because she found the happy medium of doing newer songs that still sound traditional enough.
Absolutely.
Christmas is like, unfortunately, it's got to be traditional enough. The only one that kind of got it was Destiny's Child.
Oh, bitch, you're right.
And a Chloe Diamond. That was the closest one we were like, okay, we'll let you do that.
But that Silent Night rendition that Destiny's Child do is still one of my favorites. The vocals and the harmonies on that is by far.
Yes. But all right, so we're at the end of the episode. We're just rambling now, but
we really are though.
Be safe out there voting. If you hear this before the election, hopefully we have brilliant news after for this next episode because we record the next episode the day after.
Let's hope we're gonna be on such high energy for that episode.
It's gonna be either high energy or we ain't recording. Damn it.
Well, I'm already gonna be. I have the day off, so I'm gonna be. I might be drunk already that day. So y'all may get Auntie Hennessy.
We're not gonna have no secret shot toasts or anything.
We just gonna be drunk as is.
Y'all might get the real Auntie Hennessy on that one. Y'all might see GI come out on that one. Y'all ain't ready for that. Lord. But on the other thing I want to say too, no Kim Kardashian birthdays, bitches. None of them. Don't do it.
But okay, real quick, because we got like 2 minutes. If you had that much money and you had the means to test everybody, would you have your own little private island?
No.
Okay. Okay.
No,
So
absolutely not.
it was all like all of us, like me, you, Dewan, Landon, Issa, everybody. We're like, okay, you COVID negative? Oh, you COVID negative too? Oh, you've been quarantined over? Oh, you know what? I'm about to rent this island right quick. You want to come? You gonna say no?
Here's the thing. Here's the
I would
thing.
do it.
Here's the thing. As much as I love,
I'm like, bitch, I see you on that island.
as much as I love everyone to death, if I would have do something like that, I would have never posted a single fucking thing. I would have never posted a thing. No one had a month. Because the truth is, when I went to Palm Springs, there was 8 of us.
Right.
And I didn't even want to post there was 8 of us at Palm Springs. Because the quarantine group max is no more than 10. So when you got more than that, it ain't right.
Just hush up. Don't say nothing.
Right. And on top of that, if you ain't flying private, if you're flying everybody at the same time, you don't know what done happened now since those COVID tests, and people ain't got on their plane since then either. Yeah. So, no.
Yeah. So it sounded like you would go, but we just wouldn't post nothing on social.
That's what it is.
Unless, nope. The only way I would go,
or it was all PJs. We all had to be on PJs.
The only way I would go is if it was a private charter plane.
Right. A PJ.
Yep. That would be the only way.
See, I'm not even gonna lie. Like I saw everybody talking about, everybody was making fun of her because they was mad they wasn't on that island. I'm just saying, it is what it is.
I don't know.
Like, was it right? Oh, there's a lot of things not right, you know. So it's just like,
I know a lot of people
between her and her husband, the whole family could be shut down.
Oh yeah.
I know a lot of people who have been traveling. Like on planes and whatnot, and they are fine. They have no symptoms, no whatever. They take all the precautions. They wipe shit down. They got their mask. You wear their mask on the whatever.
I know. I was so
make sure you take an airline that ain't packing people in there. So Delta all the way. All the way.
That part. And Southwest. Those are the two.
Yeah. I mean, I know, like, I've flown 8 times this year. I've flown 8 times since the pandemic, and I will say this: as much as I was happy that I got to go to do what I was doing, and one of them was for a funeral, the fear that I had the whole entire time was not worth it. It was a lot. It was absolutely a lot. And then coming home, I have a partner that I have to think about too. I have other people, and I'm going to the grocery store. I felt hella guilty the whole entire time.
But you're gonna still travel though.
Huh?
You still gonna travel some more though?
I still gonna travel some more. You're right. You're right. And a bitch may get stuck in Mexico. That's right. But I'm bringing my work laptop just in case I get stuck in Mexico. Absolutely. Because if I get COVID, my ass is stuck in Mexico.
That's true.
It is what it is.
And that's the thing. Is like, we're all adults. There's going to be repercussions to whatever decision you make, you know? And it just sucks that Kim Kardashian flashed it all out there and things like that. But at the end of the day, they have repercussions of the media and social and things like that. So it is what it is. But
and I'm not seeing nobody else.
And we're at 2 hours.
I live with my husband, so I ain't going nowhere else.
So, community, wash your hands, wash your legs, wash your ass. Edgar, thank you for being on. And go buy and go Kamala. See you next week.
Love you guys.
Bye, y'all. Ask your aunties. I done fucked up.
And she didn't have a shot.
I had
a shot, so I
had 4 drinks. I had 4 drinks of vodka Red Bulls over here. Okay.
Okay.
I'll do that one more time.